guys, Coach Pillowfist here, and today I'm going to give you guys 5 ways to be faster at dodging punches. My first tip is to have your head slightly moving already, right? Because an already moving object is easier to move than a stationary object. That's physics 101. So if I had my head just still, stationary, and I just want to move my head out of the way, it's going to be a little bit slower, a split second too slow to move my head off of that line. But if my head is already in motion, right, then it's going to be a lot easier because my head is already in motion to get my head off of that line. So keep your head in motion, find that rhythm, right? We got to set a good rhythm so that we can just move our head real quick. Another thing that this does is that it poses a moving target for your opponent. So if my head is already slightly moving, right, it's going to be harder for the opponent to lock in and know where they're going to throw their punches. I'm also not saying to be, slipping and moving your head all over the place either, right? Because that's going to tire you guys out. Just slight movement. It doesn't have to be fast. Just relax. So I'm just going to put my hands down so you guys can see the way that my shoulders are moving, when I'm in motion, right? I'm just in my rhythm, My second tip, don't start moving your head when the punch is already coming towards your face, because then it's going to be too late, especially if you have somebody with really fast hands. How are you going to get out of the way in time? You want to start moving your head kind of off the anticipation that the opponent is going to throw a punch, right? You got to kind of base it off of your intuition. So if I'm watching my opponent and I think that he's going to throw a punch, that's when I got to start moving my head out of the way. Not when the punch is already going towards my face and then I'm just like, oh no, the punch is coming towards my face. Now I got to move. No, right? You got to kind of predict it. And yes, you risk biting on a feint, but then here's another thing to keep in mind. You want to keep your head movement tight, right? You don't want to be all the way over here, moving your head all the way over there, because then it is detrimental when you bite on a feint. But if you keep your head movement tight, right, then it doesn't matter if you bite on a feint or not, because I'm not putting myself out of position when I slip over or roll over to the side. So keep that in mind. Don't over-exaggerate your head movement, right? And also keep in mind that with experience, this will come a lot easier for you to predict what the opponent is going to throw. Tip number 3, use your hands and your shoulders, right, to assist with the movement of your head. Let's take running, for example. When you guys run, you don't run with your hands staying still like this, right? Because then you're going to run slower and it's going to take more effort to run and you're going to get tired faster. When we run, we pedal our hands back and forth just like that. So it's the same thing with head movement, right? When I'm moving my head, I use my hands and my shoulders as a counterbalance, right? So my head movement is faster and it takes less effort, right? And I'm not saying that it's bad to have your hands static to your head when you're moving your head either, right? Because you can certainly do that too. But you guys are watching a video on how to be faster with your head movement. And so when you guys have your hands static to your head, you're carrying the weight of both of your hands when you guys are moving your head. Therefore, it takes a little bit more effort, a little bit more muscle use, right, to move my head like that. And therefore, carrying the weight of both of my hands is slowing down my head movement slightly. So if you want the fastest head movement possible, then you got to use, right? You got to use your hands and your shoulders with your head movement instead of going like that. But in my opinion, I think it's good to mix it, right? Sometimes it is good to just have your hands static to your face, and sometimes, right, you pedal it down like that. So when I slip, I move my hands and my shoulders like that. When I roll, right, I can do that. When I pull back, right, I do that. Tip number 4 is to keep your rear foot on a swivel. And what I mean by that, you see when I slip over to my lead hand side, right, I pivot this rear foot. Same thing when I roll, right? You see how when I'm rolling, I'm pivoting this rear foot. This puts me in position to counter at will. And that's very important for counter punchers, right? Because when I slip, I want to be in position to be able to throw a lead hook or lead uppercut right away, right? Or right? So make sure you guys pivot this rear foot when you guys slip over to the lead hand side, or when you roll, same thing. It's all about balance, right? Because if I don't pivot this rear foot and I slip, my balance is going to be a little bit off, and therefore my counter punches are going to be a little bit slower and a little bit off. So you want to pivot this rear foot when you guys slip or you roll to your lead hand side. All right? When you guys slip or roll to your rear hand side, right, you guys don't have to pivot the rear foot, right? I can just Tip number 5, too much of anything is detrimental. So if you're only relying on your head movement, only moving your head, the opponent is eventually going to catch onto that. They're going to time you, they're going to set you up, and they're going to catch you. It's also going to be very energy draining throughout the fight if you're just only relying on head movement. So you want to make sure you mix in all of your defenses, all right? I'm talking about catching, parrying, head movement, blocking, right? You want to mix them all in so that you're not just relying on one thing. But all right, everybody, thank you guys for tuning into that video. If you guys have any questions, please comment down below. Please like, comment, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you guys on the next one.